you are a politician, get ready to hide under the desk. The Real Tony Angelo Tuesday, 7 a.m. Eastern on the Lee Elci Show at 94.9 News and Stimulating Talk.
He's up late to give you the news you can't get anywhere else early. He fights for truth and justice and the American way. Please welcome our pal from the Paragon Trust Company, the real Tony D. Tony D'Angelo.
All right, 7 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock here on this Tuesday, and such a great friend of the show. No one is more genuine. No one works harder than our next guest. You can find him on the X, Tony D'Angelo 7, of course. You can find him on YouTube when he releases his weekly videos on Thursday. He's our pal, Tony D'Angelo. Good morning, Tony. How are you?
Good morning, Lee Elci. Good morning, everyone. I'm proud to be among you. Do you realize, Lee Elci, that I am the second hardest working white man in show business? You're the first.
Well,
and that's an honor to be in your company.
Well,
to
thank
be in
you.
everyone else's company.
Well, thank you for all the great work that you do. You do work tirelessly, so we appreciate that. All right, you wanted to start with the destruction of the economic destruction of the Republican Party today?
We're going to lead into that, and it's all kind of like a fabric. But, you were alluding earlier, you'll have some Ned audio or Governor King, Governor Ned Lamont, the unaccountable. There's always a deal. There's always a racket. There's always something happening. There's always something kept from public view. And it's this thing of, I get very angry. I was thinking about this yesterday of how they all, the, quote unquote, as Kitty Carlisle would say, the legitimate media and the political parties don't want us to see the obvious, and it's so glaring and it's so ridiculous when you try to defend what's happening. But why do you think Ned went on the lam last week? And basically, whenever there's a storm, and now we're into another season of Ned storms, he splits, he runs. You could set your watch to it, but. A little bit of review. There was the hurry-up economic development trip to India last week. It was all under the cloak of Advanced CT. Advanced CT, again, is a nonprofit organization. They go under cloak of that, so you can't get freedom of information out of it intentionally. We called it Ned on the Lam. Every day I posted something on Twitter about some quizzical activity of the people Ned was with, and no one other than maybe 5, 6, 8, 10,000 people on Twitter, in the so-called legitimate universe, were paying attention to this. And the characters. There was Indra Nooyi, remember her from the COVID-19 committee, PepsiCo. Daniel O'Keefe, economic community development. That, of course, is Ned's Cracker Jack box. Radenka Merrick, UConn, the whole thing, the Horse Barn Hill Investment Fund. We were running these things. And then there was Sally Parikh of Infosys. Now, the big joke and the lie, basically, I get tired of being lied to. I get tired of being obfuscated. Hearst Media said, Advanced CT was paying for the trip. Now, last night I went on the checkbook, and I tracked how the money was running to Advanced CT. They took out $1 million on February 26th and gave it to Advanced CT. I'm sure that was like for, hamburgers and party favors and that kind of thing. And it's, again, it's the thing with Infosys, the big deal with Infosys. They promised jobs in Hartford. My friends that are the tech workers talk about the fact how they were all displaced by a whole bunch of people with H-1B visas. And Infosys, the CEO, Sally Parikh, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is on the board of Advanced CT. I mean, can this thing look any more dirty or quizzical? And, no one questions it. Kevin Rennie's column, he said, well, Ned was on an economic development trip to India. And I know he listens, and I know he's watching what we're doing, and it's just it's like, guys, you got to stop hiding it and get with the program, really. But yet you come down to this whole thing. And then, of course, there's the Ned Lamont things, the people that her equities are involved with in the joint ventures with Infosys, and there's a couple of others that are using, I picked up a couple of names last night, Athena Health and Benefit Focus, that use IT offshore tech workers and call centers. And it's this thing of, we have a memorandum of understanding. Well, number one, memorandums of understanding aren't binding. And number two, with who, with what, to do what. Again, they put that in a nonprofit, exempt from public view. You can't see it. So it's like, I guess my theme today is like ignoring the obvious. If you see this and you're a Republican, aren't you supposed to be running against that? Aren't you supposed to be quizzing that? Like, what the hell is going on here? And I mean, it's like, this should be on your pick 10 list. Like, number one, my first official act if I were running for governor, I'm taking down the tampon dispenser in the bathroom. Number two, I'm making a statement. There's only two genders. Right. Number three, there's only two flags that'll fly on a flagpole in Connecticut, the American flag and the Connecticut flag under it. You want to fly other flags, get another pole. I mean, it's just, the incuriousness is so sickening and so aggravating. And when we look at these things that are so obvious, and we're called names, and we're called conspiracy theorists, and we're called, oh, you don't see the big picture, and all this other sort of stuff, it's like, it's the more that is said, the more ridiculous it looks. That's really my first thought.
Well, why do you, again, we've gone over this before. Why do you think nobody jumps in on any of this stuff?
Darn good question. I don't know if they're nervous. I don't know if they're concerned about what would be said to them. I don't know if they're playing the long game, looking for their pension or looking for some employment down the road. You got to play nice. You can look to say you're doing something, but don't. I mean, I think it's different strokes for different folks, right. But I think it's just a. Excuse me. I think it's just a. How could I put it? What it comes down to is a lack of curiosity, a lack of advocacy, and isn't that what political parties are supposed to do? Is advocate?
Well, you would think so. You would think if something doesn't smell right, there's something wrong. And
yeah, and this is the thing. I was thinking about this yesterday. If you take our 9 o'clock callers, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, these are the best callers in the United States, most intelligent people in the world. Reed, Jan, Dan. I mean, people that are sharp, people that get it. I mean, they're telling you what's happening. They're telling you what the perspective is. Read down Twitter. You don't have to join. You can see what the perspective is. I mean, I don't know who's advising these people to ignore it. A couple other things. I mean, it just amazes me. And I just had this kind of fit yesterday. And this is old news in a way. The Connecticut General Assembly, these are the people whom we told for years, hey, there's voter fraud, things aren't right, there's a lot of things that are rotten in Denmark, and we were called all kinds of names, and we were called all, belittled, and, how dare you do this, and, stop telling people lies. Well, of course, now, on February 28th, some leaders, I'm sure they're well known, of the Connecticut General Assembly wrote Attorney General Pamela Bondi, and one of the quotes and saying, you got to get the feds in here to start investigating elections. And just reading from the letter, given the Trump administration's focus on the nexus of election integrity and illegal immigration, we urge your agency to investigate Bridgeport's election and voting apparatus to determine whether these fraudulent practices, or they said the word fraud, Lee Elci, are being replicated elsewhere in Connecticut. Hey, how about that? We told you that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. It's whatever. So now that the bridge is burned, you're crying fraud. I mean, there's proactive, reactive, and hiding behind a tree. And this got me yesterday. There's a lady, I don't know her. Her name is Mila Joy, just the way it sounds. and she's on Twitter. Excuse me. She's got anyway. She's got how could I put it? Multiple thousands of followers, and she was following up on one of the recent endeavors of Elon Musk. Elon Musk, again, arguably whether you love him or hate him, one of the smartest men in the world, is now claiming loud and clear that the U.S. government didn't just botch COVID-19; they bankrolled it. Now, if you were here on this show in 2022, you and I were going through 2019 in New Jersey in the McKinsey contract, where the contract to consult for COVID-19, which was released in 2020, was actually being worked on in 2019 because some stupid operative didn't take the honorific off the top of the page. I'll show that slide again today. And it's like, we were calling this thing a game since time immemorial. The quote-unquote legitimate side of things was saying that, you can't possibly, criticize the great work that King Governor Ned Lamont, the unaccountable, is doing from COVID. I mean, he was reading a damn script. And, it's like I just get very tired, and I get very tired of the fact that, we are constantly told that, we don't see it, we don't know it. And everything that we are being told by these people that say we don't see it, they don't get anything right. Get one thing right, and maybe I'll listen to you.
That's exactly right. They are always failing us. They are never there when we need. And then when we broach something like you do, often it's dead silence. It's crickets from everybody.
Well, yeah, and again, you asked the question, what's the game? I can only offer you feeble theories to that. But, here's the thing. As we get down, and this is, big wheel keeps on turning. You get 4 at-bats a game, and new situations keep happening. And, I'm watching these things that are happening now with respect to the national government versus here versus the other states. And unless something changes, I think we're looking for another 0 for 3. With respect to quote unquote conservatives and Republicans in the state, maybe not in as much conservatives, but I was reading the Republican tax policy, and again, any single tax policy that seems to come out of the Connecticut Republican Party. I've been doing this stuff for 45 years. It's like, okay, this one's up here, this one's down. We're going to cut this rate a little bit. We're going to go around the Holland Tunnel to get to the George Washington Bridge. It's like, my God, it's like, and it's all special interest driven. It's like, have one, come out, you come out with the same amount of revenue if you have 1% tax rate. Just all these taxes are going to be reduced from X to X. We're going to, a property tax cap, or whether you do it or whether you don't do it, drop the damn rate, which, we said 2 years ago. They finally started to talk about that. And, it's it's about as easy as you're going to get. Now, also another thing about qualified opportunity zones. We're going to get to that in a moment. But it's like, you don't, and this is the thing. When the road is made, you don't have to build another road beside it. Just get on with it, basically. And it's think of this conceptually. If the Republicans were to come out and say this, Ned Lamont is killing jobs. He is. Look at that whole emphasis mess. Look at everything. Look at just look at the litany. By dropping the rate, we're going to save you $1,000, and we're going to bring 500 jobs here and 1,000 jobs here, and then we're going to put this money in your pocket. It's like, yeah, no brainer. I see that. I know it. I understand it. I go back to and all these things. I go back to Mario Cuomo trying to tax investment income in New York, and it was we have to get the wealthy. Well, when you do that, number one, you sent the wealthy to Florida. And number two, the thing was so complicated and so frustrating, nobody could deal with it. It's like, it's not hard. Now, the other thing is what has been driving me stark, staring, nuts, crazy is I've been reading the Republican energy plan, and I mean it's another one of these things. I don't know. It's like I need a master's in business and engineering to figure it out. I don't consider myself a dumb person. I may not be the brightest bulb in the box, but I'm probably paying more attention than others. And it's like they are doing this in the face of Donald Trump coming out with, really, you can look it up on the presidential website, the Trump plan for energy dominance. And it's very simple beans, and it's very clear. And the intention, of course, you're going to get, idiot Kathy Hochul in New York saying, well, we're not going to move the pipelines through here because of I think there was an egret or something she was trying to protect. But basically, it's like, get the damn fossil fuel where it's needed, get the fossil fuel out, the natural gas, and start to drive the energy prices down. It's like, why do you have to give me a treatise? Why do you have to give me like this as one of my friends would say, war and peace? It's just follow what the man is doing. It's like, we're big people. We can say Donald Trump and not hide under the desk. He is our president. Maybe you hate him. Maybe you hate him so much you don't want to acknowledge him. But it's like, it's so obvious that it's like, my Lord, what are you doing? And then the other thing, how could I put it? 3 minutes to go. If you were paying attention last week, maybe you were, maybe you won't. Certainly if you're watching state-run media, they aren't going to tell you. There was a budget reconciliation bill in Congress, and what we were talking about last year with the whole, whatever you want to call it, Trump derangement and Trump psychosis, and I was screaming, it's like, look, if you don't jump on this thing, tax rates in 2026 are going to go through the roof when the 2017 cuts. You think you're paying a lot now? You're angry seeing your tax return or visiting your account. We get that much worse. Again, low taxes I always thought was a Republican hallmark. But basically, one of the things that they want to expand is something called a qualified opportunity zone. And without a lot of weedy stuff, basically it's like you take a economic disaster area or a city, like a Bridgeport or a Hartford or a Norwalk or maybe out here, like a Killingly or a Rogers, and you say, okay, if you invest here, you get this big tax break, and if you sell the property, if you hang on to the property and you sell it after 10 years, you pay absolutely no taxes. And I mean, it's basically the greatest urban development concept since sliced bread. Now, of course, this was in the 2017 rules, but what happened is you had COVID and all the other stuff. Now you don't have that, and basically, Maryland, Baltimore is doing it. I mean, Wes Moore, a Democrat, says, yeah, this is a good idea. I need to do this. And it's like, this really, I think you can go right down the bench, Lee Elci. You can go to every single proposed Republican candidate for governor. I think there was another one last night, and ask them how they would use that to help build something. I mean, basically, I think I don't think you'd get a blessed thing. And it's like, this is something that we're, Republicans can look at it and say, yeah, this is really good. This is something we can do. Democrats don't want to do it. They want to let you die in the streets. They want to let you have, whatever you want to call it, harm reduction tents on Chapel Street in New Haven. I mean, to me, it's so obvious. Maybe I'm the crazy one. It's just like, how do you see these things come down the road, and you don't see them going back all the way back to those other things we spoke of. And, here we are.
Tony D'Angelo is his name. Tony D'Angelo 7 on the X, the YouTube page, all of that. One of our state representatives, just to back up a little bit, he says that we now that Pam Bondi has been confirmed, a letter to Donald Trump or that office would have, before that, it would have fallen on deaf ears. Now there's a chance for the feds to actually pay attention to what's going on here in the state of Connecticut, which I would totally agree with.
Well, you got a better shot, but, the thing is, people are watching what you're doing. And I'd rather see a heartfelt, this is me, okay, you can disagree with me, I'd rather see a heartfelt failed effort when you know you're going to lose, because even though you lose, people remember that you tried and they knew where your heart was. That's me. Right. You can disagree with me.
No, I think you're right about that, but I think now at least maybe they'll
You have a much better shot, no doubt about it.
Tony D'Angelo. All right, Tony, what do you got Thursday?
I think we'll follow up with some of this stuff, and I was happy, as we were talking about last week. We had, all kinds of views, and people were. What I like about the video show is you can throw something up and you can point at it, which of course you really can't do that on radio. At least no one has succeeded thus far. So it gives me that opportunity, and I think we'll be following up with what we're doing here.
Right, sounds good, buddy. Thank you as always, Tony D'Angelo. Follow him on the X, Tony D'Angelo 7. Of course, that great YouTube page. He's got videos every single Thursday. All right, we got to go. We'll come right back. I got a story that's, black and white. We'll do that next. Hang on.
Most people got soul if they wanna try. Let love be go and let it fly. 'Cause it's easy to hate, to draw a line. But error is human, forgiveness divine. I know a lot of people think like me, that this world could be a place that's filled with harmony. 'Cause there's a lot of things we've got to